Happy Christmas Eve to all those who celebrate. Hopefully you're putting presents under your trees or snuggling up to the fireside in warm pajamas and a nice cup of hot cocoa. Anyway, match of the year. This is a big one, but one I strongly stand by. But before we get to it, I'd like to list off some honorable mentions that deserve the recognition, but couldn't quite secure the top 5 slot. Fuminori Abe versus Yuji Okabayashi. Strong BJ versus Astronauts. The Workhorsemen versus Violence is Forever. Roosh versus Bryan Danielson. Andrade versus Bryan Danielson. Eddie Kingston versus Bryan Danielson. Mascara Dorada 2.0 versus Rocky Romero. Zack Sabre Jr. versus Bryan Danielson. MJF versus Bryan Danielson. Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay 1. Claudio Castagnoli versus Eddie Kingston 1, 2, and 3. Hangman Page versus Jon Moxley, also all of them. Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley. Bianca Belair versus Io Sky. Emi Sakura versus Nicole Matthews. And Darby Allin versus Christian Cage. Without further ado, my favorite match of 2023. If you follow me on Twitter, you may have known this one was coming. It couldn't have been anything else, really. Bati Bati, the battle art style, has been a groundbreaking discovery for realizing what I want to see out of pro wrestling. And I have Ethan of 4 Pillars of Hell fame and Andos of Andos fame to thank for the Finding Your Niche video and Andos's Visualizing Passion video. They were both really a turning point for my enjoyment of pro wrestling. So when I heard that Daisuke Ikeda and Yuki Ishikawa were going to be wrestling on a show in 2023, I was sold. Them wrestling each other with a tag partner at their respective sides was a tried and true format for some of my favorite matches in all of pro wrestling, and that did live up to the hype for me. And then the main event happened. At that point, I'd seen about 2 Astronauts matches, them versus the Crazy Lovers and Strong BJ, and I was immediately sold on them as a team, but Jesus Christ, did this surpass any expectations that I had. I feel like where most partner versus partner matches go wrong is that in matches like Ciampa Gargano, Hangman Kenny versus the Bucks, and especially MJF versus Adam Cole, the main through line of the match revolves around one or more participants actively not wanting to hurt their opponent. But what these matches fail to grasp is that nobody fights like brothers. Abe and Namora absolutely beat the fuck out of each other because they know that they can take it, and they respect each other too much to do the other the dishonor of the holding back. They wrench each other's limbs back at gross angles and actively try to injure one another, not out of pettiness or hatred, but out of love for each other and the game. It's a story of a wrestler trying to prove to everybody that he's as good as, if not better than, the man he has been compared to and will be compared to his entire career. And in the end, he just comes up a little too short. Gets caught in a hold that nobody could have been expected to escape or outlast, and he had no choice but to give in. It's deeply tragic in a way that has stuck with me even now. No other match that I've seen this year comes close to even matching it. I said this in my last video, but there is no pro wrestling show that I am more excited for than KT Dan We Are Fighting Detectives 2. So, there you have it. If you haven't seen it yet, this is my Christmas present to you. Fuminori Abe versus Takuya Nomura. My match of the year 2023.